For perfect positioning of the roof panel, it's best to use both Avery magnets and masking tape. The masking tape will also serve as a reference point when realigning the material onto the vehicle. Once the graphic has been positioned correctly, score the masking tape very carefully not to cut straight through to the film or car. This will allow the tape to break where scored. Because MPI 1005 Easy Apply RS is a slidable product that can be repositioned, there's no need for hinging. Plus, you can confidently remove the whole liner in one go. Now you can reposition the graphic on the roof of the vehicle using the taped reference points. Tension the film to remove all wrinkles and make the material as smooth and flat as possible. As with any vehicle application, start with the highest parts first. In this instance, it's the centre of the roof. As you can see, working in pairs is an advantage, but make sure you keep an eye on what the other person is doing and work systematically to ensure you don't miss any areas. As you complete the flat areas of the roof, you'll finish up in the corners where some excess material may have gathered. The material will need repositioning at this stage to remove any wrinkles and lay flat again. This is a very easy process thanks to the fantastic features of this adhesive to reposition. You may come across obstacles as you go, such as aerial mounts. This requires the material to be tented, meaning you can work past the problem area and come back to it later. Again, ensure the material is flat in all areas to make it easy to squidgy. When it's time to finish the aerial mount, reduce the size of the tented material and as wrinkles form, apply heat to keep the material from creasing. When the material has cooled and there are no wrinkles visible, you can continue to reduce the size of the tent around the object using your squeegee. Eventually, you'll need to make an incision around the object so you can squeegee the material flat onto the surface. When all areas have been applied, excess material can be trimmed away and loose edges pressed flat with the squeegee. Always remember to use a sharp blade when trimming. For the application of the bonnet, we're using the MPI 1005 Gloss Opaque. As the MPI 1005 Gloss Opaque has different characteristics to the Easy Apply RS, our application technique will be slightly different. Correct positioning of the graphic is crucial. This can be easily achieved by applying the Avery magnets and measuring tape. Once the graphic is in the correct position, trim away any excess material. Tape tabs can also be applied for positional reference. Remove the liner and place the graphic onto the bonnet using the tape tabs to identify the correct location. Once aligned, flatten the material and remove as many wrinkles as possible. You can now start to squeegee. Please note that this is not a product with air egress channels. This means that extra care and a slightly different application technique will be required. For a smooth, wrinkle and bubble-free application, hold the material slightly off the surface and apply firm squeegee pressure following the curve of the surface. Heat may need to be used to remove any wrinkles to smooth the film for an easier surface to squeegee. When the first half of the bonnet has been covered, continue on with the second half. You may need to reposition the material to ensure it's flat and smooth on the surface. Once you've finished the application, run your hand around the edges to locate the outline of the bonnet. Finally, use a heat gun to heat the material bridged over the edges and smooth with your hand before trimming. Similar to the other parts of the vehicle, the graphic will need to be positioned correctly with the aid of Avery magnets and measuring tape. Once the graphic is in the correct position, trim any excess material away to make the graphic easier to handle. Tape tabs can be applied for positional reference. Plus, you'll need to cut a hole to allow the rear wiper mount to pass through. Now remove the liner and place the graphic onto the vehicle using the tape tabs to position it in the correct location. Once aligned, flatten the material and remove as many wrinkles as possible. You can now start to squeegee. For a smooth, wrinkle-free application, hold the material slightly off the surface with one hand and use the other hand to apply firm squeegee pressure. Always remember to handle the material outside the application areas so you do not contaminate the adhesive. Heat may need to be used to remove any wrinkles to smooth the film for an easier surface to squeegee. Remember that if you're working in pairs, pay close attention to what the other person is doing to avoid mistakes. Once you've finished the top part of the hatch, trim excess material and finish this area. In this application, we've partially applied the material to the rear window and trimmed around the design to create a unique graphic effect. Any excess material around the wiper mount will need to be trimmed and pressed flush to the rubber washer. We can now move to the bottom part of the hatch. A hole will need to be cut around the handle. Heat the material so that it stretches over the handle and then reheat to allow it to shrink into position. Once in position, squeegee around the handle and trim excess material away. Continue to work your way towards the outside edges of the hatch. Repeat for the other side, and when complete, trim excess material from the vehicle and smooth the edges with your hand.